Pedersen, oh, it's 1-0 Blues! What a header that is! Christian Pedersen with a bullet header.
It's then floated towards the back post, Jukovic in there, Jukovic! Oh, what a header! This man is on red-hot form at St Andrews at the moment.
And it goes again towards the towering Zigic. Oh, confusion at Martins has surely scored the winning goal for Birmingham City.
Hello and welcome to the Blues Talk podcast, returning for the 2021 season after a slightly prolonged absence. Myself, Callum and Dale Moon are back, and today we're joined by none other than the skipper himself, club captain Harlee Dean, the first guest on Blues Talk for the season, as we look forward to the visit of one of his former clubs who hold him in slightly interesting regard. We'll talk about that, and also look back on our pre-season friendlies and some new faces through the door here at St Andrews Trillion Trophy Stadium.
The Blues Talk podcast with Dale Moon and Callum Denning.
Dale, we're back eventually. I think it's been, 6 months since the last one?
Yeah, it feels a while, doesn't it, since we last we sat here and had a chat about it all. But yeah, good to be back. Lots to talk about, obviously. A new season upon us now. Lots of new faces through the door, as you mentioned in the intro. And yeah, it just feels, it's a different air around the club at the moment. So let's see how, it's been a bit of a crazy time for everyone, hasn't it? But quick summer, still some business to be done, I have no doubt about that. But looking forward to getting our teeth into another 46-game campaign, plus also the league fixtures. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one. I think it's the air of positivity, isn't it, around the place, which is something, speaking back to when I was a fan, we've been going back, 20 years now. It's something that's not very common among Blues fans. I think it's our Brummy nature. No matter how good things are, we've still got that kind of...
The gallows humour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that starts in the summer, doesn't it? We ended the season as we did. I don't want to labour on it too much because I think that the whole point has been, since the gaffer walked through the door, this is a new start for everyone. And you have to have that. I think there's concerns with a shortened summer that the hangover from the way we finished last season would roll over to this year. But the hope is, with a new gaffer, new faces through the door, I think... fans start to get excited again when you see you making movements in the transfer market. There's a clear ploy in my mind, as to what he's brought in tried and trusted players in this division, players that he's worked with before that he knows, some young potential in there as well. But I feel like you have to wipe the slate clean, and each player has got a fair chance again. And you'll hear from Harlee Dean very shortly. He's like a new man under Aitor Karanka. You sat there alongside me when we spoke to him, and there's I think that's running through the club at the moment. There's a cautious optimism that we have the right man at the helm as our head coach, and we're not saying it's going to happen overnight. And he's saying the same thing. He's going to be, it's going to be. And I know it's an overused word, isn't it? You hear managers say that, but I do believe he can put the foundations in this season, keep us away from trouble. And we can look to kick on again in 2-3 windows time. But I feel there's a general consensus around supporters, the board, players, that Aitor Karanka is the right man for the job at this time.
Seeing the man work up close and personally as we do, he's absolutely meticulous in his methods, his preparation, the way things are around the club. And hopefully we'll get him on the Blues Talk podcast very soon to discuss that. But, the thoroughness in his preparation... And you hear from, people connected with Middlesbrough and Nottingham Forest, the way he was there. It is almost, like you said, that clean slate, that injection of something new, really, that's, causing this sense of optimism.
Yeah, we talk to players off the record all the time, and I feel like the manager carries an air of authority about him just because of what he's achieved, who he is. He's had success at this level to get up to the Premier League as well. I feel like instantly when he walked through the door, he commanded respect from players. I don't think he's an in-your-face manager. You talk to one or two, and I don't think he's overly conversational with players and he's really going to get involved. I think he watches closely. He makes decisions based on what he sees. He consults his tried and trusted coaches around him who he's brought in. And so I think initially the players are like, right, we need to listen to... And I think it gets everyone on the same page, everyone pulling in the right direction. No questions asked over, is he asking us to do the right thing or not? I think what he asked of players, they're trying to execute. And by all means, what you hear, they're happy with training. They think there's good variety to it. And I'm reluctant to be as optimistic as we sound with another season to go, but at least all the noises coming out from dressing rooms, from the dressing room, and from the gaffer's office are positive ones, which is a good start.
Overwhelmingly positive. And of course, Aitor bringing in his own backroom staff when he arrived at the club, seeing them firsthand, of course, all bases covered there. Mm-hmm. And of course, pedigree to them as well.
Yeah, the thing is, every manager, we have relationships with backroom staff, and Darryl Flahaven, Sean Rush, fantastic characters at this football club, and were brilliant. And I can't speak highly enough of how they work with us as a media team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just from a personal level, forget how good they were at their jobs, which I think isn't in question, but also just as they were as people around the place.
I mean, Rushy was on the podcast.
Yeah, that's it, and he took a keen interest in what we'd done. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if you're going to back a manager or a head coach, as Aitor Karanka is, I think you have to give him the tools at his disposal. If he wants to bring his own people in, then you have to put everything in place to give him the best chance.
Absolutely.
And it is difficult to try and merge backroom staff from one regime into another. There's never quite that 100% trust there. You can try and be as professional as you can, but to bring his own people in, his own analysts, fitness coaches, Craig Gardner will have a crucial role in being the bridge between players, not just the Spanish and the English, but also the players and the management staff, the backroom staff. So his is a crucial role. And I think they're happy with the dynamic. They all work together. I mean, we've shared an office with them or a wall with them for a few months now. And
wafer thin.
And it's there's a good camaraderie around them, and I think they're all looking forward to their first season with Blues. So.
Well, on to that. I mean, let's start with pre-season. We'll come on to signings in a moment. Of course, we're on 6 through the door as we speak.
Yeah, it happens that quickly, doesn't it? Yeah, it's been a bit of a wild one. I think we're up to 6, yeah.
It's a whirlwind. So we'll talk about those in a moment. And of course, the positions that the gaffer has identified that he'd like to bring more players in to cover. But let's talk about the friendlies. We started with Charlton. I wasn't here, so Dale, all you.
Yeah, they're always tricky to take anything from. I think we can whiz through the pre-season friendlies without eating too much time up, because all about minutes. I think that the Spurs one was the important one towards the end, because it seemed like more of a senior side in that first half. There was a shape about them. They knew what they were doing. I was really impressed with that whole performance up until the last 30 seconds and 90 minutes. The other ones, when you look at Charlton, Walsall. Was there one other, or was that
Leicester?
There you go, Leicester at the training ground. All good to get competitive minutes in the bag. He changed the team, didn't he, quite often at half time. 2 teams of 11. Some young players getting a run out as well. Important that the gaffer had a chance to really look at the players at his disposal, because he'll still be learning about them. But I as the players do, struggle sometimes when you're watching pre-season friendlies to really learn too many lessons, other than he looks particularly sharp, there's a good shape about them, so you can see what they're doing. I do feel like the Spurs one, just because I feel Karanka may have gone with a team close to what he sees as his best team at the time, you can read a bit more into that than you can the Walsall, Charlton and Leicester games.
I think Spurs as well. I mean, we were there at that arguably the best stadium in the world, by the way, but that's a different story. And the team didn't deserve to lose there. I mean, it was a resolute performance, as strong defensively as we've seen in a very, very long time. It's the last 90 seconds for a player the calibre of Steven Bergwijn to eventually break that deadlock.
Yeah, the gaffer come off the pitch and, he said, you get organised, and it is a hallmark of his. It's a trait of Aitor Karanka's sides. I think everyone looks at the Middlesbrough team, who've done so well. A lot of 1-0 wins. They were defensively solid and were nicking games. And it may well be a style that suits us here. And I know there's some, and I understand that we want to get into this fantastic free-flowing football, and Pep tried it, didn't he, last season, early on, up until the Christmas point. But given the players at our disposal, given what we're used to, given the nature fabric of the club, I feel like Karanka will get us organised, and you saw that in the Spurs performance. I think there was a clear shape about us. Out of possession, we were very good, forced them wide, and then just flooded areas of the pitch, made life really difficult. And we were undone at the very end, but I think everybody came away. You're never happy to lose, but everybody came away thinking, okay, if that's what he's been working on, you can at least see the steps that he's taking in the right direction.
And you go on about the style and everything. I think, and the gaffer touched on this after Cambridge, in terms of a psychological impact. I think the most important thing is to start getting results. I mean, you look back at the run post-lockdown, we haven't won a game competitively. Forget the style. I want 3 points on the board, and I'm sure Aitor is the exact same.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why it was a bit of a shame, the Cambridge one, that we couldn't get off to a flyer at the first game. I'm sure he would like to have just got that first win under his belt as new head coach. The players would like to have just dusted off all of that negativity at St Andrews from last season. But another big chance this Saturday. Really tough one, but I'm sure, they'll look forward to it. Brentford, it's not as obvious that they'll be up there again this season. I know everyone will look at it and expect them to be there. They've replaced, Watkins obviously left, Ivan Toney's come in. They'll look and get replacements in for players that do leave, such as their recruitment process. But very difficult to go again. You've had a big negative. It's a big blow and a knockback to losing a playoff final. And a good chance to play them for me, because they're not in great form. It's not as if they're on a 10-game winning streak. It's at the very start. There's a lot of unknowns at our place. So let's give them a game on Saturday.
As you said, coming off the back of a playoff final defeat, I mean, that could cause impact throughout the entire season.
Yeah, it's you could see the hammer blow of them not getting automatic when they had the chance, didn't they? Baggy slipped up in the last few games. They had the chance, didn't take it. So it's you're going into the playoffs on a negative. They managed to scrape through the semi-final, but Fulham just stunk the house out, made it difficult. And then, you've come so close, you've put so much in, a quick summer turnaround, and you're back on 0 points, and you have it all to do again. You know how long those winters feel. You know how difficult it can be, a championship campaign. So yeah, like I say, I don't think they're nailed on to be up there. A lot of people will put them as one of the favourites to go up again because they come so close, but it doesn't always work that way. So let's see what they made of.
Well, every team equals it this week. Well, 23 of us equals this weekend. You take a repeat of last year, wouldn't you? Our last ever visit to Griffin Park. A Christian Pedersen header from, I think it was another part of London. He was that far out. And of course, his refreshing attitude of what he said in his post-match interview. He
made a Steve Seddon cross look better than it was, I think. He dragged it, didn't he, Seds, to the edge of the box, and then Peds' massive blockhead ends up turning it home with a bullet header. Yeah, but I mean, that was a game where really you come away and you're happy with the 3 points, but it was a bit of daylight robbery, for being honest. They hit the woodwork a few times. They're going to have the lion's share of possession. It's the way they play, but... we done well to get the win on that day, and I'd take any win on Saturday. Like I say, it all helps with this new field. To get points on the board early on would be great. But they won't. I don't think they'll change what they are. They have been it for some time now. They recruit a certain way, to play a certain way. They already earmark players to come in as replacements. They love to keep the ball. They have that 3 up front last season that were lethal.
Yeah.
So defensively, we're going to have to be better than we were last year. And again, I don't want to keep going back to it. And I will make a conscious habit of not referring back to last season, particularly post-lockdown, because I don't feel like that was this group of players. No. It was a fair reflection on what they can actually do. So, but defensively, it was more than 30 goals from set pieces we conceded last year. Cannot happen again. And they'll know that, they're going to have to defend pretty well to keep them at bay. But also, I think whenever Karanka's asked, and he has been asked in pre-season about how we're going to play, being organised and defensive-minded, and I think he also likes the balance of posing a threat down the other end as well. I don't think he likes the label of being on this defensive head coach that comes in and we're going to try and nick games. I actually think, yes, he wants to be regimented and well organised, but he also wants to pose a threat down the other end.
Look at his Middlesbrough side. Going forward, they were as good as anyone in the league. Obviously, this season they made the playoff final and then automatic promotion.
I think he understands that success over across of a 46-game season is built on a solid foundation, and if you can add goals and bits of magic and quality in the other end, he has a 4-2-3-1 formation that he seems to like. So he's tried to fit players in, new people coming through the door, into those positions. As we'll probably get onto, he knows we need another striker. With Dukey's injury during the pre-season, it's made that even more evident. Nothing against Aidan George and Jaden Reed, but there isn't a tried and tested championship striker without Lukas Jukovic in there. So he'll want to add to that. He's mentioned he wants to bring a goalkeeper in. So there's still areas of the squad he'll want to look at, and he'll understand that the expectation isn't for us to romp the league this year. Listen, if we're up there, fantastic. It's not the expectation this year. Let's slowly build and put things in place and get the ball rolling.
Multi-year project. Now listen, we'll speak about the signings that have come through the door in just a moment's time. But before we do that, I want to speak to a man who we talk about being good in defence. We talk about Brentford. this is a man who I think those two certainly apply to.
Harlee Dean, yeah, he is a player who wears his heart on his sleeve, and as you'll hear, never pulls any punches in what he says. I love the honesty of him, and I know certain fans will be polarised in how they feel about Harlee Dean. I think he knows that as well.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's matured. He has a massive spring in his step this summer. I mean, I can't tell you how different it is having this Harlee Dean around the place. A great influence in the dressing room. He'll hear about his route into football, and still very, very grounded, big family man. But love the way he's talking, loved chatting to him, because filled me with optimism that if your captain's talking this way ahead of the season and got a big smile and a joke, and he can see there's a buoyancy about him, then it can only bode well. So great to hear from Harlee, and let's hope he has a good season.
And he speaks like a leader as well, as you'll hear.
The Blues Talk Podcast.
Thought series 2 of Blues Talk. And
Eventually.
I thought there's no better person to have than club captain. How we got through a whole season without having you on last year?
I think I was ducking and diving all sort of media last year after the performances. You'd only come to me if we've been beat 4-0 or something.
Yeah, I have to pull you out of the dressing room. That sounds about right. Harlee Dean, thank you ever so much for joining us.
No problem.
Loads to talk about. I mean, this is like a completely new club to what we left the last time we did an episode. But first of all, mate, how's it been? Quick turnaround this summer, so to get away from all the negativity that we finished last campaign with, has it been good to welcome in new gaffer, new players? It's a fresh, optimistic start now.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. We obviously got, I think, 13 days off or whatever, so, and with the situations going on in the world, it was hard to get away, and if you was away, you had to come back and stuff like that, so it was just good to take your mind away from it, because it was needed after them 9 games and the season in general. But completely different club, as you said. We've come in now, and the club and Dong have made a great appointment in the manager. I think he's just what we needed at this time, and he's what the club need in the future. So hopefully he gets a good old shot at it for a long time to come. It's been organised. Sessions have been, every single one of them has been top drawer, and the lads have thrived off it, because it's not the same old, and obviously there's a honeymoon period you want to impress, but I don't think that honeymoon period will stop, because I don't think the gaffer and us senior professionals now won't let the players drop off. There's an intensity to training, and there's a certain standard in training that's got to be kept, because we've set the bar already in the first few weeks, and we've got to keep it now. It's just a shame that obviously we've done all that, we've done all the hard work, and training's been that good, and then we go and lose 1-0 on Saturday. So it's just one of the, you can't explain it. You think if you work as hard as you are, and the dedication and the effort and stuff like that, surely you should get the result. But it just didn't happen. So I'm not going to say it's one of them things, because it wasn't good enough. But I'm sure if we carry on training how we are and stuff like that on the training pitch with the manager and his coaching staff, then we will get more results than we won't. Yeah.
What's it been like with you particularly? I mean, that captain-manager or captain and head coach relationship's a special one. Some of them lean on their captains more than others. But from day one, how's it been with you and him personally?
He's been really good. I mean, he's not really one to come and talk to you and stuff like that. But for me, not knowing him and only working against him, him coming in with the pedigree he's got, not only as a manager but as a player. He played in my position for Real Madrid and his country, and he's won titles and stuff like that. You look up to people like that, and you want to impress them. So we've had little chats here and there, but nothing too in depth. He's always watching, but he might not be always involved, if that makes sense. But he's just somebody that you want to impress, and for me, I just want to be better than I was last year, which shouldn't be too hard. But
are you your own worst critic in that sense?
100%.
Like, you don't need to be told by anybody. You know, if you had a stinker, you just take it home. You know that's the case.
I am my own worst critic. Maybe my dad is more. But I think in today's world, it's so easy for people to get at you and for you to be told it anyway. And even what's frustrating is you could have had a good game, but if someone tells you got a bad game, someone else is going to jump on that, and then 400 people are going to tell you you've had a bad game. When I know when I've had a bad game, when I know when I don't.
How mad is it that after all these years, and you've had in different clubs, that your dad's opinion still is the hardest? Like, I find that I used to remember just playing as a kid. You get back in the car and you've had a stinker. I could just,
find
he'd only have to
out,
look at me
yeah.
and I'd just be devastated in the car. Yet your dad's opinion still is one that you hold in high regard. 'Cause
Of course, he's
mad, innit?
the thing is, he doesn't even come to all the games,
Yeah.
so he might watch it or he might listen to you lads on Blues Player and
Yeah. So we could.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of power in it.
yeah. So you're basically telling him whether he's going to grill me or not.
So,
You and
it's
Kevin
good to know
Broadhurst
that.
killing him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, Mr. Kevin Moore, the negative Nigel. Jesus, he must have been some player, by the way.
I know, mate. Yeah. Never put a foot wrong.
Some of the stuff I hear him say.
No.
I hope he's listening to this.
Nah, he will. Yeah.
Going back to the manager and the staff, I think everybody wants to impress, and we had a discussion in the change room afterwards, after the last game against, I've erased it. Who was it against?
Last game of the season.
Yeah.
Derby.
Yeah.
Derby, and obviously things were said, this, that and the other, and then we all sat there for a bit, and then I just said, look, we've all got to come back and be better than we were. We've got to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to invest more. We've got to just be better, and we've always been a good bunch, a hard-working bunch, especially in training and extras and dedication and stuff like that, but we've got to be better. So us as the senior professionals and just as the whole squad, really, we had a little, I just said things and people just agreed, and I think everyone sort of remembered it and come back and really took it on board. And training's been very hard, but we've been working hard at the same time, and the quality has gone up. And obviously with the new players coming in, it's nice to see some proven championship players come in rather than unknown quantities that you don't really know what you're going to get from. So people like George and Adam Clayton, John Terrell, all good championship players. George has been one of the best left backs in the league for a long time. I met him in the playoff semi-finals and Karanka, and we just couldn't beat him. We couldn't beat Middlesbrough, and we'd batter them every single game, but they would win, and that's hopefully what I think we can be this year. With the players that are brought in and the style that we're going to play.
Talking on that style, I think when he was appointed, he comes with a reputation of, one, he's a manager that I think demands authority from supporters, will know what he's achieved, as you say, but also from players. But also stylistically, it seems like he will get Blues back to a more traditional style of what we've been, hard to beat, gritty, well organised. That seems to be a good marriage between the gaffer and what we are. Do you think that will probably be the way we set up this season?
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we're going to be exciting going forward with the signings. I think once Leko's fit, he's going to be good. He was very good when we played Charlton last year. New lad Ivan looks sharp and what's the word? Creative. But it looks like he can score goals. So once we get them players back, because obviously on Saturday we didn't look like we were going to concede. Obviously it was an error, but it was one of them things. I think the goalkeeper wouldn't have done that if it wasn't his first game. He's probably trying to impress, wants to come out and show that he's authoritative, and it just hasn't happened. And it's one of them things. And once you go against anybody, especially a lower league team, they just sit back. You need that creative lot up front. So you need match winners, and we just didn't have that on Saturday, which was the shame. But I think we're going to be very solid. Hopefully, we're going to keep a lot of clean sheets. And hopefully we're going to win a lot of games. But if we don't win, I think we won't lose a lot at the same time. I don't want to put too much expectation on the year, because I think that's what we do every year, and then
we don't reach those heights.
And then it's one of them, we said this. I think we take it game by game, and we just see what happens, really.
On Saturday, did you take the positive that was Cambridge's only chance they managed to create in the game? Of course they scored from it, but solid at the back to limit them to that one opportunity.
I'll be honest, we had the 2 days off after the game, and I watched the game back. I got one of the analysts to send me. I watched the game back on Sunday, and I was really frustrated after it, and it didn't really change the next 2 days. I was as I don't want to be detrimental, but you should be beating League 2 teams. Hence why we're in the Championship, they're in League 2. But the positives were young Aidan got off 90 minutes. Charlie Lakin, who I think deserves a start because of the way he's trained in pre-season and the lad he is and stuff, got to start on the left wing. We looked solid, but it just looked a bit slow. It looked a bit rigid. I'm not a manager by any means or an analyst, but we didn't have enough unselfish runs, so people running to create space for someone else. It was all, this is your position, people staying still, and then that's easy to defend against. So definitely stuff to improve still, and we know that. We've only been back 4 or 5 weeks, and the manager obviously knows that, and I'm sure we will improve on it, and we'll work on things. And once we get everybody fit and all the players in that the manager wants, then I'm sure we're going to be a solid team. But at the same time, when we do go forward, we've got to be creative, we've got to be fast, and we've got to take our chances.
Talk about being fast. At the age of 29, didn't you say you clocked your quickest ever time 2 weeks ago?
Against Leicester.
Where's that come from, mate?
9.5 it was. I just feel really good. I felt good, which is strange. I felt really good in the 9 games physically. I feel really good.
You've done a lot at home.
I've done a lot at home in isolation, but stuff that you could never normally do during season because you can't concentrate on little things because you're just constantly playing, recovering. So, I feel really good this year. But ultimately, you've got to go out there and perform at the same time, and we've just got to try and get the confidence back, because I said to the lads at half time, the first 20 minutes of that Cambridge game, it felt on the pitch like it felt for the previous 9, that we had lacked a bit of confidence. Everyone was doing the safe thing rather than trying to take the risk or take the game to them. It was all, I don't want to make a mistake, but like scared sort of thing. So we've just got to get out of that mindset, and it's obviously going to be difficult because we haven't won since February as well, and that does play a big... Psychological is one of the main things in football, and confidence is one of the hardest things to keep and the easiest thing to lose. So we've just got to once we get that first win and a good performance, and hopefully we can do it on Saturday, I'm sure we can build and hopefully become a good team. Yeah.
On to Saturday. No stranger to Brentford. I mean, you went from hero to huge villain.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember sitting there getting absolutely pelted at Griffin Park. They played
I was on the terrace.
Cheer Up Sleepy Jean as it finished. I think Tats had a word or two with their media guys because of that.
I was a bit less polite.
To be fair, Dean Smith texted me after that saying that he was out
of order.
Yeah, he was going to find out who it was, and that was going to be them.
Yeah.
Bit of a livy, to be honest. I think I'm the only player post 2000 to play over 250 games for the club.
Right.
And they did that, and normally, like my mate Sam Saunders is a coach there, and I think he played 200 games, but 100 sub appearances involved in that. I played 250 starts, and he made the Hall of Fame, and I haven't even been given the call.
Persona non grata.
Do you know what I mean?
Class, mate.
But
not having you, are they?
Nah, but I think that's just part. I think it's football fans. They love to hate someone.
Yeah.
And because I'm quite outspoken, I'm not your typical honest, your stereotypical footballer, say the same thing all the time, and just media this. I'm just me, and I'll always say what I think, and what I said was what I thought.
So did you leave on bad?
No, there was no. I left. We left absolutely fine. But it's the first interview I did here. I said, "Oh, I'm excited to sign here because the squad is 10 times better than the squad that we got to the playoffs."
Harry Redknapp window. They bought loads.
We got to the playoff semi-finals with Brentford, and what I meant by it was
the calibre of players here.
Well, the calibre of players, but we'd just come up from League One and we was an unknown quantity, and we had great players like Brentford. It was a great team, but the calibre of player here, individually, were probably better than the players that we were playing with. But
which, when you break it down, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we had David Stockdale, who was previously the best goalkeeper in the Championship. We had Jota, who was Brentford's best player. We had Che Adams. We had Lucas Djukovic, who's one of the best strikers in the league. Like, we had top players.
They weren't having it.
We're in that social media soundbite.
Sadly.
You take one quote and then suddenly you get canned.
That's it.
But then I remember, wasn't the first game against them at St Andrews, and you didn't start that game, and they were giving you pelters.
Yeah, old Steve Cottrell come in and put me on the bench for free, didn't he? And then they just sung to me the whole. I didn't even care about the game. I was just sitting there on the bench getting hammered. I thought, fucking, I feel bad enough sitting there. Max got injured and come off, and Jota got dragged, so they were delighted.
I'd love to.
Tell you what, though, last visit to Griffin Park last season.
I know.
Enjoy that one.
Did you give it loads?
Nah. I was respectful.
Muted.
Yeah, it was respectful.
Surprising.
Yeah, it's surprising. But the thing is, I don't want the Brentford fans to feel like that, because I love my time there, and the fans. And to be honest, it's not, as is in any club, it's not the fans that probably watched me. It's the new generation who come in, who have got Twitter and keyboard warriors who just want to jump on the bandwagon and all start just talking a load of rubbish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because when I was there, that last game we just spoke about, a couple of fans, as you walk out, you have to walk through all the fans to get onto the coach, and an older fella come up to me, give me a big cuddle, was crying, and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for how you're being treated. You've done fantastic for this club." And
nice.
This and they're the ones that count. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As the same here, like I might get a lot of grief off of people on Twitter or whatever, but you see people in a restaurant or in the street, and they're the opposite side. There, don't listen to that, this, that, and the other. They're really
complimentary.
Complimentary, and they say they're proud to have me as captain, which is, and I'm sure probably I would bump into one of them ones who was hammering me on Twitter, and they wouldn't say what they say.
Definitely,
Well, I'd like to see one if they try and say it anyway.
But you don't hear those voices on Twitter. You don't hear those complimentary voices
that kind
as
of
loud. It's just
thing,
sadly,
it's just a toxic thing, which is why I come off it. It's just there's no. You can either.
Did you make that decision over? Did you do that after a game, or did you just think, "I've had, for a while stewed over it"?
It was just too much. I was getting stuff all the time, and whether you're a strong person or not, and I think I'm a strong person. At the same time, that ain't good for your mental well-being.
No.
Seeing constantly, and then my mum sees it. My mum texts me, and I think, well, why do I want you getting upset over something that some kid who's got nothing to do with football and has no idea of the game is saying about me? I don't want my mum or people seeing things like that. So I just thought. Out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see the upsides.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things, isn't it? I mean, we're going well off on a tangent here, but this day and age, the constant social media stream.
There's no context or discussion, is there? It's 140, 280 characters.
Well, even like these two lads here, Foden and Greenwood, they're probably going to get absolutely hammered from senior, like ex-professionals who were doing it twice as bad as them.
With no cameras
With
around.
no cameras, because they could get away with it.
Right.
But now, because these two are doing it and everyone can see it, everyone can have a comment on it, then it's not for me.
Nah, it's different worlds. Let's talk about Brentford. Finished the season, I mean, fantastically well. In the end, didn't quite get over the line, but talented team. They've kept hold of their players up to now. Be a tough test Saturday.
Definitely. I was really gutted for them, to be honest, because I thought they were nailed on with the last two games, and then when it didn't happen, then I had a feeling they weren't going to do it. And obviously I watched both the playoff legs, watched the Swansea at home, and I thought, right, well, it weren't that bad. Then I watched them at Griffin Park and they destroyed them, and I thought, well, if they approach Fulham like this, that's then done. But the final was one of the most boring games I've ever seen until Joe Bryan does that unbelievable thing and the keeper dives after the ball's in the net. But no, tough team. It's going to be a real test and one that I don't think you can take too much from because first game of the season it's always difficult. They've kept their players, but I'm not too sure. It doesn't look like Watkins is playing. It looks like it's Tony. Benrahma hasn't played. Right. So they could be on their way. I know what Brentford work is. If they could get their valuation, they're gone. So they'll try and bed in new players already. Yeah. But as I said, if the manager gets the team that he wants ready for Saturday, I think no matter what, we're going to be a difficult team to play against, and that's something we didn't have last year. We was too up and down. We was too soft and hard. It's just you need to be consistent. Yeah.
I know all players are being questioned on it. In a word, and very short, how do you find being at St Andrews without a crowd?
Oh, it's just not great at all.
Does it affect your level? Like, does the game feel different, or is the intensity any different, or does it have an actual tangible impact on?
I think it affects everything. Yeah, I think it affects everything. I really genuinely think that referees are biased against us, and I think if you had the home fans in there, that bias may even out. Yeah. Obviously,
Juki gets a rough ride for that, doesn't he?
Pardon?
Always getting called at Juki's always getting called for fouls. And sometimes you think
it's just horrible. Like you obviously got Keith in the middle. Keith smashing someone. Normally that gets and then it gets everyone buzzing. But you just hear him smash someone now, and we obviously try and brilliant, blah blah. But it's not the same effect as 30,000 people.
The whole crowd to spark.
And it's sooner fans can get back in, the better. I think for everybody as well, because it's just. It's the atmosphere. That's what makes football. That's what makes you want to be a professional footballer. Otherwise, we just all go and play over the park on a Sunday. Do you know what I mean? And you probably have more people watching you walking their dogs or stuff like that.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's a bit sterile, isn't it, at the moment, being at games?
Yeah, the whole thing is. But there we go. Let's go back to the very start, mate. Talk about your crazy path to professional football to start off with. I think the Birmingham Mail done an article with you a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago now, about sort of your pathway. But take us back to the start. I know like all lads want to be a professional footballer. When it started to get a bit more serious for you, because I know the non-league route was your route.
So obviously I left school and I was going to go to Loughborough and do like a sports science or something like that. I wasn't too sure, but I'd got the results to get in there. And I started playing for Dagenham Redbridge in like it was like you go to college, do like a BTEC. There was no money involved. It was like a second chance scheme sort of thing. So I was training with a whole different group of lads that were doing that, and I was the one that got called to the first team. Got given a professional contract on £100 a week. So I was still working for my dad, labouring and stuff like this on the weekends, and Saturday mornings I'd go and labour for him in the morning, and I'd be sent on loan to like load of non-league clubs around me, Redbridge,
Bishop Stortford,
Thurrock, Braintree, and I went to Bishop Stortford, probably one of my later ones. Done really well there in the Conference South. I think I was 16 or 17 maybe.
It's young, isn't it, to be playing that, mate? Conference football.
Well,
big lads in there.
From there, I'd done 3 months there. From there, I then signed it for Grays in the Conference Prem. And Julian Dix was the manager, and he made me captain.
Class.
And you had players like Paolo Venazza, who played for Arsenal in the Champions League there and stuff. We were terrible.
Yeah.
Like we got relegated.
Right.
But I was 17. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What an experience.
Yeah. They was giving me extra pocket money to play for him as well. Andy Swallow was in charge, who's probably less said about him the better, because I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, the honest Harlee Dean coming out, probably not.
But great guy to me, and Julian Dix gave Les Reed a call, who was Southampton's technical director, and I was due for a new contract at Dagenham Redbridge, and I thought, well, I've done well here. I'm 17 years old. I've played Conference North. It was only a league below Dagenham Redbridge where at the time. Surely I'm going to get a decent contract, like enough to be able to pay for my own car insurance and not have to work. And I sat down with John Steele, and he went, don't know what you're on, but we'll double it. And that's it. And I went, I'm only on £100 a week, so that's £200 a week. And he went, yeah. I went, oh, right. But I knew at the time that there was kids a few years older than me that were on not much more, but... Do you know what I mean? If you'd have gave me 300-400 quid, it might have been like, at least I can get my foot in the door.
Yeah, but to go from 100 to 200.
Yeah, and I just said, Les Reed called me and said, don't accept the contract. I'm going to get you down at Southampton.
What was that like?
That was a summer of me doing his head in, because it wasn't come to Southampton. It was, I wanted you to come and train with them and see how it is. So I went and trained with them, and there was 2 other lads that they was in the same position, like trialling as well, and Les in the end said that they give it to me because after the trial was done, the other lads maybe called once or twice. I called every day to see if it was for me, if it was me, and he just said you were the hungriest. And obviously went to Southampton, went on loan to Brentford. After the first season there, Southampton went from League One to the Champ straight to the Prem within the 2 years I was there. So it was hard to get in.
Yeah, of course.
I was on the bench and stuff, and went to Brentford and loved it. Played first team football. Got to the end of the first season with them on loan. My contract was up at Southampton. Went and met 5 or 6 teams: Preston, Stevenage, Brentford, loads. And I'd been at Brentford. Matthew Benham was great with me. Uwe Rosler was the manager at the time, and he was just what I needed, because I think I was a bit cocksure, and East German, like, he was strict, and he
having it.
Yeah, he really taught me a lot in the game. So I think it was the best thing for my development. And stayed with him and just played a lot of games there. And played good football as well. That was the thing that I liked. I really enjoyed the style of football, and we were successful. I was talking to my friend Jake Bidwell recently. He signed at the same time on loan from Everton, and we was there roughly the same amount of time. And I think he said to me, we must have lost 25% of our games there, maximum, in 230, 240 games. So you can imagine the feeling around the club. It was just, and I think they've continued that, which is why they're constantly doing so well.
Did you turn up as this rough and ready centre half at Brentford, or did they have to mould you into more of a ball playing?
No, I was a centre midfielder.
Was you?
I was a centre midfielder at Southampton.
Really? Did they take you as on loan as a centre midfielder?
So I played a game where Mark Warburton seen me. I'm sure it was against Leicester again. I played a game as centre half the first time. Southampton said, "Oh, we want you to play there. We want to have a look at you there," and that was what then made me then sign. Brentford then signed me as a centre half.
Wow.
So yeah, because all through the non-league I was box to box midfielder. Yeah.
That's why you can see all that. That all makes sense now when you start stepping in and going on them mazy runs in the middle of the park.
That's why.
Amazing.
But no, yeah, I probably wasn't mobile enough for centre midfield as the levels got up, like as you went up the league, so it just made sense. Made sense to drop back and have the game in front of you and stuff like that. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you were close to doing something at Brentford? You know, when you were getting closer and putting those teams together and stuff.
Yeah, the year we got to the semi-finals of the playoffs in the Champ
should have been the year.
Not should have been the year. I think if we'd have kept that group of players together for the next season, we'd have romped the league.
Yeah.
But Brentford's model. We sold Andre, we sold Tarky, Stuart Dallas.
Some good players come through there.
Adam Forshaw, Alex Pritchard, John Terrell.
You look at the players, you just reel off, and you're like,
and then Mozo de Bajo, David Button in goal.
Yeah,
just signed at West Brom.
Yeah,
we had some team, but the thing was at the time we was probably on one of the lowest wages in the league, so we felt that we'd all gone and performed. They then brought this wage cap in, which we could have all gone to together, but people had done so well, they was getting offers of this, that and the other in different clubs. But we all were like the best of friends. Jonathan Douglas, Alan McCormack, it's like a real tight family we've still got, and we all said if they'd have just offered everyone the same sort of money, a little bit more, we'd have all stayed and
won the league.
And probably won the league and been up.
Max said something similar when he was on this, just about Brentford. He'd done like a few years there and loved it and just wanted them to kick on. And then it was always the best 2-3 players that get snatched in a summer, and he felt at the time he probably needed a move that summer. I think it was the summer all three of you came in. But he said something similar about Brentford, loved it, didn't have a bad word to say. No. Just felt like they never went that extra bit to try and kick on.
I think the year just gone was the first year, because normally in January they'd have sold them boys. But I think the model that Matthew Follers said that it was 50% chance they'd go up, so he was worth taking a better 50% chance and keeping the lads.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't pan off, but now we'll just sell them now. Maybe not for as much as he'd have got in January, but they've obviously done their business. They've got Ivan Toney in, so they're happy to let Ollie go and stuff like that.
Interesting. See how we get on Saturday.
Yep.
I wanted to touch upon the honesty thing. I remember you came and spoke to us. It might have been one of the early interviews you done at Barnsley away. And I think I remember Richard Wilford turning and saying after you'd done it, like, what a refreshing, honest assessment was, because you just arrived. I think it was probably in the winter of your first season, and we got beat there, and it's just a horrible feeling. And you were genuinely like down, beat about, you've come here with all this optimism, new fresh start, we're going to go on and kick on and do something. It wasn't working out. And I think it was just quite refreshing for members of the press to see a player come out and be that honest. Yeah. Is that always just been a trait that you've got away from football? Is that just who you are as a bloke? Is it just?
Yeah, I think that's why people might not. You either love me or you hate me. I think because you can. It's easy to just say the generic thing and just go with, oh yeah, well, we'll do better next week, and we're all tried, and the changing room's angry, and this, that, and the other. But I always feel that we're privileged to be in this position as footballers anyway, so why not just be honest with what you actually think? Because people don't want to hear the same stuff, but they might not want to hear the truth either.
Yeah.
But I'd rather tell the truth. Like, I've always been truthful. If someone annoys me, I'm going to go and tell them to their face, look, you've annoyed me and this is the reason.
Yeah.
And that's what the manager's basically said when he's come in. He said, I'm honest, if you're not playing, don't come and knock on my door, because you're not going to like what you hear. So if you want to come and knock on my door, I'm going to be completely honest with you, which I think is all that is needed in football, is honesty. Last year we didn't have that. Last year you'd not be in the team and you wouldn't be told until the day of the game, and then you would be told a lie that you're going to play the week after, and then you wouldn't play, and everybody was having the same thing, and that is the worst thing. If you're honest with someone,
you can stomach that.
Well, you're not going to like it for an hour, but then the next day you're going to come in and go, well, at least I know what I've got to do, or at least I know the reason. It's not, oh yeah, well, I'm going to rest you for this one, but you're going to be fit for next week, and then you don't play next week, and then you're even more and then you lose people.
Yeah, of course.
I just think honesty is the best way to
Have
go
you
about
seen
everything.
the Danny Rose, Jose Mourinho little clip?
Yeah, I've just watched it last night.
Well, that's another little example where some fans are like, Danny Rose has done nothing wrong, this happens in football all the time, he stuck up for himself, weren't getting a run. Jose Mourinho's been honest with him as well. That is what you want a football dressing room to be like, an honest manager and an honest player.
Yeah.
Just air it out. But I think to people who aren't involved in football, they see that and think, well, how come Danny Rose is going back at Mourinho? And I think it's quite interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different perceptions of that. I think I'm all for the actual gist of the conversation. It's just the way for me that he did it. I mean, he walks in there with an earphone in his ear.
Yeah.
He doesn't say good morning. He goes, can I have a word? Then and it's just like, you've got, at the end of the day, that's your manager, and
There's that level of respect.
Yeah, you've got to respect him. You've got to show respect. You can say what you want to say and have the conversation. Even at the end of it, your clock is like, I'm going to go and speak to Lee. You go and do that then, because he's obviously knocked him a bit.
Yeah, he's got the umbrella.
But you want to have a conversation and you want to be able to talk to each other in an honest way, but you've still got to be respectful. You've got to, like, if I ever had to wanted to go and talk to the manager, I'm going to knock on his door, ask if I could come in. Is it all right if I have a conversation with you? And if he says no, not right now, then that's fine. Like, you walk out and then you wait, but you don't just go in there a bit like guns are blazing. But maybe it's different. People, different mindset. He might have been fuming for 4 or 5 weeks, and it might be a completely different scenario if that's the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be interesting if we had cameras in all access here, like an Amazon
especially last year, mate. Jesus Christ!
Oh my God!
That'd be a box. That'd be a blockbuster.
That would have made our job a bit difficult to
a little bit.
to manage that narrative, wouldn't it? Mate, I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. Just ahead of this season, obviously George has come in. I think the two of you, a lot of fans commenting after the Spurs friendly in particular, look to have struck up a partnership at that sort of him being a natural left footer, you on the right side, both big voices as well. Do you enjoy being part of that senior setup and alongside someone like George with all that experience? He's obviously brought Clayton in as well. Do you feel like you sort of fit that puzzle perfectly alongside him at the heart of that defence?
I do. I mean, obviously I want to play every game, but at the same time you've got Robbo who's doing very well as well. I think it's good to have competition in places and good to know that if you don't perform, you're not going to be in that position. You're going to have to miss out and wait for your turn again. I think that's what's needed. And the fact that you know that if you're in that team, it's because at that point in time the manager wants you in it, and then it's yours to lose. And there's the honesty thing again. It's not, oh, we're going to rotate you free, and that doesn't work. It doesn't work in this league. Like, you need consistency, you need a structure, and you need familiar faces. But no, obviously I like playing on the right hand side. I'll be honest, I like playing on the left hand side as well. It doesn't make a difference to me. I just want to be. I'm at the point in my career now, as I said, I feel I'm 29, but I feel the best I felt. But at this point in time, if I wasn't playing and the team was being successful, that is all I want this year, is the team to be successful.
Right.
So if it meant I sit on the bench for 40 games, but the lads go and win 35 games and we're in the playoffs or whatever, I want the lads to do well. I just want this team to be successful. I want to achieve something in my career rather than. Obviously, I want to play football. I'm not going to say that I don't, and I would be unhappy if I wasn't playing. But the ultimate thing for me is to bring some success back to this club, because, as you said, I signed here as full of optimism, and it's just been a bit of a nightmare. So we've all said the same thing. I was speaking to Dukey just. He said the same thing. He said, "Look, they've brought in Jonathan. They're probably going to bring in another striker. If he can play 15, 20 games." And we are successful. Obviously, he'd love to play 46, but he just wants us all. We all just want to do well, and not just for ourselves. It's for our families, obviously, but it's for everybody that's linked to this club. For you guys sitting here, for the staff, for the fans. It would be nice to have a positive season, a little bit like the year under Gary Monk, but a little bit better if we can. Obviously, we've got the points deduction. We was probably a little bit too far away from it anyway, but. As I said, I'm not going to get ahead of myself and start talking about where we're going to finish, but we just want to take it game by game and do well.
You feel settled though, H. You can with your family in the area and stuff. You both love it. You're always with the boys and stuff, bringing them here, and that. It seems like you're in a good place going into the season anyway. So
I mean, I think I'll probably live here even once I've finished football. I really enjoy where we live. I really enjoy. It sounds bad. I enjoy being away from home, because I feel like. When you do see people, you spend quality time with each other rather than mum being around the corner and you popping around there every day, and it's like it's just easy to do.
A routine.
But whereas if they come, you spend good quality time together. My mum probably won't like me.
What you're saying is you want to see less of your mum.
But no, I really enjoy it, and the contract takes me till I'm 31, so hopefully I can stay for longer, and hopefully it's in a different league as well.
Most important question: what do you love more, your lads or your dogs?
Oh, my lads. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, my lads. My lads, yeah, definitely. They've got an order though. It goes
Got an order?
Yeah, they've got an order.
What do you mean?
Yeah, it goes little Harlee.
Okay.
And then it's a tight one between Chunk and Lenny at the moment. Because Lenny ain't got much about him. He's only a baby, so he's not giving much back.
Right.
Probably Lenny, then Chunk, and then the missus, then Ghost.
Gonna have to listen to that in 2 years' time.
Hey, thank you ever so much, mate. It's been really good to chat to you out of this new season. Yeah, hopefully it's a successful one for all of us.
Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers, lads.
The Blues Talk Podcast.
Harlee Dean, as you said, almost a new man, full of optimism, spring in his step.
And admits he's got favourites amongst his kids and his dogs.
Yeah, I know. We must send him that clip for his Instagram story, because we do get a massive window into Harlee's life. And that's a man who's embraced the stories feature.
Yeah, I actually thought the standout for me was there was a humble aspect to Harlee, and I actually genuinely believe him when he says if he has to sit out at times this season for this club to do well, I really do. I believe it when he says he's quite happy to do it. I think he joined this club with the best intentions. You know, I'm sure, it was a great move for him and his family. But at the same time, I think he thought he was joining a club who were going places.
On the up.
Sadly, it didn't work out in the couple of seasons to date. And I think he genuinely wants success for us. So if, him, Dukey, George Friend, Adam Clayton, as a senior clutch, David Davis, still a big influence in the dressing room, as a senior clutch of players can get their heads together and get everyone dragging in the same direction. Some good characters in there with what Aitor Karanka's brought in. Harlee's still got a massive part to play in that dressing room.
That experienced core alongside some of the new additions like Ivan Sanchez, Jonathan Lico, adding that kind of air of excitement to the side. I think it's vital, isn't it, having that balance?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think Karanka's got players in for positions that he thinks we're short on. So that attack-minded midfielders, you need 3 across there to start the game. You're going to want to make changes in wide areas. I think now you look at the options in midfield. Davis, Gardner, Kieftenbeld, Clayton, Sunjic,
Terrell.
There's some players that can go in there. Up front, he wants to obviously bring another body in. And defensively, I think the one thing that was really frustrating last year, man for man, I remember having a few conversations with our pundits on Blues TV, Kevin Broadhurst, Darren Purse. You go through man for man. Maxime Collin has shown he can be one of the best right backs in this division. Yeah, he was hampered a little bit with that injury, wasn't he, last season at various stages? Didn't quite reach the heights of him that he set himself, but still fantastic fullback in my mind. Mark Roberts started the season full of confidence and was absolutely flying up until post lockdown where the levels dropped off. Same can be said for Christian Pedersen, and he'll admit himself he was chalk and cheese for Christian Pedersen compared to what we saw after the lockdown.
Season of 2 halves.
I mean, for me, I remember getting to Christmas thinking, Peds has been our most consistent player here, and there was rumours of other clubs taking a look at him. Jake Clark-Salter, of course, no longer at the club, but as a left-sided centre half, quick. The point I'm really trying to make is individually, that's not a back four or a back line that should be conceding as many goals as they were. So hopefully we can get a collective together that prevents that and keeps a few more clean sheets and keeps the goalkeeper protected a little better.
Well, let's talk about organising the defence as we move on to our incomings this summer, and let's start with centre half that Aitor Karanka knows very well from his time at Middlesbrough, George Friend.
Yeah, vastly experienced. I mean, you only have to look at the Middlesbrough reaction. I'll keep these very brief. Middlesbrough fans could not talk highly enough of him as a person. Obviously 32 years old, so all the experience in the world. Started as a left back, can still see him flying up and down the left side for Middlesbrough, but was then converted, finished the season playing at centre half. He's a leader. You already get the impression, being part of this group for as long as he has in the short space of time, he airs his opinions. You hear him in training, but there's an eloquence about him. There's an intelligence. There's a Lukas Jukovic about him in there.
Massively, yeah.
Very well brought up, very well spoken, lovely bloke to deal with, and I think he'll be a really big asset for us both on and off the pitch this year.
face familiar to many people around these parts next, John Terrell.
Yeah, John Terrell. I mean, I think it's fair to say he, in his own mind, had his best football, his best year here.
Yep.
I think just playing in that number 10 role behind Clayton Donaldson was a match made in heaven. If we can get him anywhere near those sorts of levels, he did add goals, didn't he, that season? It's the big question when it comes to attacking midfielders. You can look pretty on the ball, you can twist and turn, you can look great in training, but your currency is to make goals and to score goals. He did do that in the season he was with us. It hasn't quite worked out for him since. I know he struggled with a few injuries. The bad season for Hull last year as well. But in that interview when we played Hull late on, very complimentary about the club. So no surprise to see him return. And if we get him fit, get him feeling good about himself, get that confidence back in as a player in John Terrell.
Just say as well, that goal against Ipswich, arguably the best Blues goal I've ever seen.
He didn't have to break stride, did he?
Another one of them, and I'm happy. Right, next up. Oh, go on.
No, I was just still marvelling at the fact that it was like if you watched it in slow motion, he's still running. Like I still see it was the smoothest motion and the trajectory of the ball to loop up and down. Even he's surprised, I think, by the connection.
It's
that
the motion of him and the ball, isn't it? All the way from Thomas Kuszczak at the back.
Yeah, very
little
good.
Nod on from Clayton Donaldson.
Yeah,
one fluid motion.
Yeah, great strike.
Incredible goal. Right, a transfer saga that seemed on Twitter to be dragging on for a while. I know a lot of fans were getting restless, but all about patience. Ivan Sanchez.
Yeah, it linked for a while, wasn't he? I think there was reports from local journos that one was going to be done, but with Elche's progression into their playoffs, I suppose, it meant that he was still there for some time. Highly thought of, good age, experience under his belt, technically gifted. He's got that low centre of gravity, hasn't he? You see him walking around the place and in training. Very slick Spaniard. Hair's always very on point. His English isn't fantastic, so I don't think we'll be getting him on Blues Talk anytime soon, but he's making an effort to obviously try and learn the language, and I think he'll go in there across that three. Yeah, probably on one of the wings. Looks to cut in, going off some of his clips at Elche. So again, he's added a bit of quality in an area where we're going to need some bodies.
Exciting signing from our friends over at West Bromwich Albion, Jonathan Leaker.
Yeah, really good this one, because I didn't know he grew up as close to St Andrews as he did.
Round the back of the ground,
he said literally the back of St Andrews. So, I mean, when you think of Jonathan Leaker as a 16, 17-year-old, there was rave reviews coming out of West Brom. He's represented England at various levels, can play wide of a three, but also as an out-and-out striker. He played as a 9 at Charlton when we went to the Valley, and Jude scored that winner. Pace about him, trickery about him, always been a potential. The sour point for him is that he suffers that knee injury in January, February, and it rules him out for the rest of the season. Up to that point, he was making assists and scoring a decent amount of goals.
Being raved about by Charlton fans, by the way.
So I think this is a potential steal from West Bromwich Albion for the fee that's been talked about, and his age. He can only get better. Quite assuming kid around the place, actually. Really well spoken, but quite a quiet character. I'm sure that'll grow. He'll find his feet and get used to the group. But quite an exciting signing, not just for this season. I think you're not going to see the best of Jonathan Leaker. No. November, December time.
Still
when he's fit and
sharp.
Course. Exactly. It's going to take him some time with such a lengthy spell out. But yeah, an exciting one for me.
Good to have another Brummie around the place as well.
Always good to have Brummies around the place.
Right, next up, in goal, Andres Pereira.
Yeah, a bit of an unknown quantity, wasn't it? We knew we were obviously in the market for a goalkeeper with, Connell Truman being loaned out, no Lee Camp, David Stockdale moving on as well. So we knew to expect a goalkeeper coming through the doors. But I think a lot of people, and no disrespect, had to probably Google Andres Pereira.
Yeah.
But he's been a number 2 for most of his career, led to believe behind some decent number 1s. So he'll see this as his opportunity to come in and really have a go at trying to secure their number 1 jersey. So let's see what his first taste of English football. The impressive thing I think this week has been his efforts to talk English in an interview.
Yeah.
I have the full respect for players who want to make a conscious effort. He says a lot about his personality, and he wants to make a good impression. So I know a lot of people point to an error that he made against Cambridge, coming for a cross and didn't quite get there. Hopefully he'll learn from it. I'm sure he won't need to be told. And let's see what he's like. I think, like all players, it's going to be a blank canvas for him. So I'm not going to claim that I know he's the greatest goalkeeper in the world or not. Let's see what he's like when he gets a run out.
On that interview, by the way, can't stress enough, he was the one that asked for that. He was very insistent that he wanted to do a Blues TV interview.
Yeah, and sometimes you're behind the camera and you think, is this working or is this not? But I think you have to respect a player who wants to make an effort to learn the language. I think we can all be critical, and sometimes you hear players taking the mick of accents and stuff. Let's one of us try and talk Spanish in an interview.
No chance.
So fair play to him. Yeah, and he seems a really nice lad, actually. It's a good look to him.
And I think he's up for as well monthly updates via interviews as to how his English is progressing. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, he said come back to in a month, didn't he? So we'll hold him to that.
Right, and time of recording, I mean, it's the 10th of September now. Our most recent signing, of course, this could all change. I mean, you know how football works, the next 24, 48 hours. Yeah. Nothing that we know is happening at the moment, but again, could change.
Don't be surprised.
I've got a load of U2 songs coming to mind after our reveal for this man. Adam Clayton.
Yeah, I have nothing to do with this reveal, so I had a lovely little pre-season getaway, and I obviously found out the morning of that we were signing. Again, fits the mould of the George friend. Aitor Karanka has worked with him before. I mean, he spoke about him being one of the best midfielders, if not the best midfielder in the Championship in terms of getting on the ball, starting off moves, dictating play. It strikes me as a player who can dictate the tempo of games, tries to get you on it, slows it down when he needs to and speeds things up. So could be a really big key player for us in the centre of the park. But also his personality around the place again, a few people saying how he's already really found his feet at the club. Seems a real confident lad. Seems he knows who he is, where he's been, how probably good he is. So I think he'll see a lot of game time this season.
Had a load of ideas for his reveal as well. So he's someone who wants to get involved, which is always good. But I mean, as you mentioned, his ability there. I mean, we saw briefly against Cambridge that little cameo. The ability he's got to pick out a pass. He got on and changed the game, and I think. I mean, the gaffer touched on it in his post-match. Ideally, he'd like to have started him, but of course, he'd come off the back of only a couple of days' training, so ultimately didn't. But something to look forward to in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I think so. With the short summer, when players are joining with a week, 2 weeks before a season, it's going to be interesting to see what results we see in the early, and how performances are. I think you're not going to see the best of players to start with. Maybe the ones that have been at the club and are familiar will hit the ground running, but these new lads who are still getting used to the city, you forget they're moving house in the area, getting used to the club, the squad, how we play. It's going to take time for each player to settle in. So the good signs are that the lads that we've just spoke about, off the pitch at least, have just seamlessly transitioned right into the group. I think the group are thankful to have some new faces in. Again, just to lift everybody. And all signs are at least positive on the eve of a season opener.
More to come in terms of new faces. Right, well, I hope you can join us on Blues TV tomorrow. Season opener against Brentford, of course, dark markets only, which is that incredibly vague term that the EFL use.
Negative Nigel is what Harlee Dean called Kevin Broadhurst.
Right, yeah, let's touch on that actually, because Kev will be joining you on commentary for this, for our audio subscribers.
Kev is an enigma. Kevin Broadhurst, his insight into the game, I find, is fantastic as a former captain, as a manager.
Club legend.
Absolute legend. And he loves to have a dig. Now, he'll say, and I know he'll probably listen to this.
He will be.
He's just saying it as he sees it. The players obviously are aware that he absolutely pans them all the time. But yeah, hopefully we'll give him something to be positive about. I mean, I'm actually going to warn him before we go on air tomorrow.
Harlee Dean will be
lay
listening
down
to
some
this.
new ground rules ahead of the season. Leave your negativity at the door, Kev. We haven't got time for it. It's a new season. Bring some optimism in. So
I think there's a few people on Twitter who have just rejoiced at that statement.
I'm not promising nothing. I don't think a leopard can change his spots, but let's see.
Yeah, no, you can't give Kevin Broadhurst orders. But yeah, audio commentary, Dale Moon and Kevin Broadhurst tomorrow here on Blues TV. Well, hopefully we'll be back with this in a fortnight, back into a routine of...
We're not short of new players and new voices to hear now.
Well, this is it.
There is no excuse for us not to be able to bring them onto the podcast.
We'll do a round table. Do you want to get them all sat round?
Yeah, I know.
6 at the moment.
To be fair, they've all got different stories to tell, so it'd be good to get them individually. But the gaffer's definitely one we need to get on. But by the same token, he's got more pressing issues.
Yeah, let's let the man settle in.
Yeah, he's a new head coach. We're just about to start the season. Sorry, he's a new head coach at the club. He's not a new head coach, obviously, but he's our new head coach. We're still trying to get players in. He still wants to add to the squad, so there's lots of work to be done there. Also, training, games, settling in with his staff. So
relentless.
We will get him on.
It's happening.
But yeah, let's give him some time to get his feet under the table.
Eyes peeled for that one. But for the meantime, this has been the Blues Talk podcast. I have been Callum Denning.
I've been Dale Moon.
Join you in a fortnight.
The Blues Talk podcast with Dale Moon and Callum Denning.